Hey everyone, to the another vlog, and today I would like to talk about the fullness or emptiness and the emptiness of fullness. So sort of a weird dichotomy slash yin yang that happens in life. So basically, the observation is the following: it's very interesting how 10 minutes of meditation can feel far more full than like 2 hours, 3 hours of being on the internet, being bombarded with entertainment, quote unquote entertainment, right? Like that is the label that it's given. But I find that entertainment is really apathy. I really agree with the thesis of one of Exiting Modernity's chapter slash essay. So Exiting Modernity is the name of the series. It's written by James Ellis or Meta Nomad. Great series, by the way, on the modern world. And yeah, what is called entertainment is very often it's very apathy. It's just you being kind of zoning out and shutting off your mind and not really engaging in it. It's not even having fun. It's not even having fun. Like it's I think there's this thing called like the paradox of hedonism, but hedonism like the pursuit of pleasure, like constant pleasure. Well, like if you like ruthlessly pursue pleasure right directly, there's a way in which you kind of burn out, like in a sense in which like you just kind of become numb to the pleasure and like it doesn't really affect you anymore. And so like the paradox of pleasure is actually if you're more modest, I need to sneeze. Fi- Sorry a bit. So yeah, now I can mute my mic before I sneeze. I think I need to sneeze again. Sorry. Okay, I'm good now. So the paradox of hedonism is kind of interesting, right? It's like if you just maximize pleasure right now, you tend to not have that much pleasure actually in the long term because you kind of like yeah again you become numb to it. It's just too much. But if you're more modest with it and you kind of like more you adopt more like a temperance type of approach and you allow yourself pleasure but not all the time, like in moderation, then it turns out you actually end up having a lot more pleasure in the long term, right? So like that's kind of the paradox of hedonism where like if you're more moderate you actually have more pleasure in the long term. That's very interesting, right? I think with the entertainment stuff there's something kind of similar. It's not exactly the same, right? But like there's something similar where like if you just like the problem with like modern entertainment is that it's so apathetic. It's so like there's no like effort or like it's so like there's no like consciousness being asked of you, right? Like as opposed to like if you take something like a book, right? A book requires a lot more attention, a lot more presence, and as a result it's also a lot more rewarding, I find. Like it's just like books can be really enjoyable, like really immersive when you get into them, but it requires a bit of effort, right? It requires like a bit of like some books are very easy to read, some books are harder to read, like they're more obtuse in terms of their language usage. But I find that once I find books that really match my sort of mood or reading style, I guess you could say. Yeah, books can be really, really immersive and really like full. Right? They can be really nourishing in a way that like apathetic modern entertainment is not. And to come back on the subject of meditation, it's very interesting how you know, like in 10 minutes, I feel like there's so much that happens in me. I also have like a lot of visual imagery that comes up. For me that's not really a problem. I don't try to like have an empty mind when I meditate. For me, it's more like about focusing back into my body. And that's the focus I have when I meditate. And yeah, it's so like intriguingly full of like quality of like very different kinds. A lot of visual images that come to me. It's so interesting. I really encourage someone to like experience it directly. But it's one thing to like know in your head that like oh yeah, uh, you know, like meditation can make you more aware of experience. It can make can give can put you into touch with like a much like a more conscious type of experience rather than like all the entertainment that is bombarding us. But like it's really something to feel it. And related to it is something that I've been thinking about a lot, and which I actually have been given a very satisfying answer in my opinion. Like I've been thinking a lot, and I asked like on tweets like what is the nature of boredom at the end of the day? Like, is it uncomfortable, and where is the discomfort found? And the answer that was given to me, and I really love it, is that well, there are probably several types of boredom, so maybe it doesn't apply to all of them, but it really applies to the one I felt, so I feel like sharing it. The answer is that basically, boredom is this sense that you should be doing something more important, but you don't do it, either because you don't know what exactly you should be doing, or like that's lacking clarity. And that's my part, by the way. That's the part where trying to add to what I understand. And the second reason is that you're afraid to do it, right? So like the key sense of boredom is that really you feel like you should be doing something more important, but you're not doing it. And in my and the reasons I see why that happens is lack of clarity or fear, right? Lack of courage. And it's what is the expression of boredom that makes the most sense to me because like I've never been able to pinpoint exactly what is boredom, but like I always have this sense that like boredom is like you're just sitting there and then you have all these like images, visual images because I couldn't really feel the sort of discomfort of boredom. Like there's a sudden restlessness that comes with boredom, right? Like you can't really sit still for some reason, and I wasn't really sure why that happened, right? Like why was I uncomfortable in some situations but not in others? Because the thing is that when I'm meditating, for example, I don't really like get restless. Right? I just accept that I'm just gonna be sitting there, and that's it. Right? I don't really get this sense. But when I feel like boredom, I have this sense that like I really just can't sit still. I have all these images in my mind and stuff that kind of pose me to distract myself and stuff. And yeah, I think that's what the most sense to me. Is that it's that there is an unacknowledged sense, unaddressed need to be doing something more important. And ironically, sometimes that need of be doing something more important in my life has been doing nothing. Right? Sometimes doing nothing is like the most productive thing in my opinion, because it like sort of like gets you out of the habitual, uh, you know, you know, the monkey mind of habits and kind of puts you into more cohesive, conscious state of doing things. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how this whole stuff works. I'm not sure I want to talk more about it. I mean, I feel like I can tend to overtalk in my vlogs and obviously my welcome, but those were like the two main points I wanted to talk about. And it's very interesting how like similar to like the paradox of hedonism, like people try to fill their life with so much stuff, and yet like weirdly enough, this attempt to fill one's life kind of becomes hollow, or like it's really counterintuitive. I don't really know how what analogy I would give it to, but it's yeah. I think the paradox of hedonism is something to think about. Like uh, I'm not sure if that's the how to say the common term on like what you would find on Wikipedia, but it's what I've this is what I remember it as at least. But maybe there are other terms given to it. But yeah, quite interesting to think about, right? And yeah, just to add a bit of vlog type of thing. Lately, I've been using my computer without the internet, and it's been pretty great. I don't think I've ever been that productive. I don't think I've ever read that many books. Still on the reading book pile, right? I haven't been reading as much as the past days because I've had like an exam or a class I need to follow for my my job. But besides that, yeah, and also because I've also been like just doing less stuff, usually just like just chilling in my room, meditating and just contemplating my being or just being in my body. Feels pretty great. It's actually not as boring as I expected. It is boring, but it's not as empty as I expected, right? Like I guess there are two types of boring, right? Like there's like the boring in the sense that I'm not entertaining myself, and then there's the boring which is like yeah, I feel uncomfortable with my current situation. The first one is completely fine, I don't think doing stuff all the time is very healthy, honestly. It's kind of like a modern disease, I would say. Again, kind of like the hedonistic treadmill type of thing, where like people just pursue pleasure all the time. And whereas in the past, pleasure was kind of restricted by our environment, where like humans didn't have access to all that type of stuff. Now, pleasure is not restricted by our environment, and so we can have to like put the barriers ourselves or design an environment that sort of like puts you into the better situation, right? Like maybe restraint is not the right uh, mindset or way to approach it, but it's something more like guiding yourself, right? It's like I kind of hate the term nudge, like in the context of like nudge theory, because not nudge theory is a very it's pretty authoritarian stuff, honestly. But honestly, I think if you do it to yourself, there's a way in which it can be kind of kind, right? Like just nudging yourself to do the things you know you should be doing and which are more wholesome to you, in a way that doesn't feel too coercive, right? But in a way where it's kind of like emphasizing what is better for you. So yeah, I guess I've been nudging myself to do more wholesome things by having the internet out, which I still use, but it's really nice to have the computer or have stuff without the internet, honestly. To just have like more control over like the type of stuff I do. Because the thing is that like 1 hour of internet, let's say like 5 hours of internet a week, that's plenty, right, to do the things you need to. And that's great, honestly. Like the internet is full of great things. But then when it becomes like, like 20 hours of internet a week, 30 hours of internet a week, like that becomes that becomes pretty problematic, right? And I'm not trying, I'm even exaggerating on the 30 hours internet a week part. That would be 4 hours a day on average. So 4 hours on my work day. Honestly, I used to do more than 30 hours, but I think I have a stat. In fact, I have an add-on that tracks the number of hours. I think I was sitting on average in like the 35-hour average per week. So it's not uniform because obviously I have work days, right? Because of the weekends, kind of it's kind of crazy to think about like 35 hours a week. You multiply that by 50 to get 52 to get like a year. That's like what? I mean that's it's more than 1,500, right? Am I dumb or? Yeah, it's more than 1,500. It's probably like 1.7K or something. It's fucking crazy, right? Like, I would say a good 20% of that, I'm sure was good. Like, if I took the top 20% of that, I'm sure I didn't regret it and I benefited from it because honestly, I do read quite a lot on the internet, and I think that's part of that reading is quite useful. So I'd say like 20% of that is solidly useful. The rest, though, probably not. Like again, listening to music that is something I also enjoy. So I think at most like 25% of my usage of the internet is like good. The rest is kind of but then again, you could make the argument that you don't know what is going to be good, you don't know what's going bad. So like how, but at the same time, I think like when you stop using the internet mindlessly, there's a way in which you're being a lot more deliberate about it, and it's a lot more good, a lot more useful. Especially if you're like me, you kind of need break from time to time. So like I don't know if I'm going to do that for the rest of my life, but for now it's great to have a period where I'm doing less things. It's great to have like these cycles of up and down. Right? Like nature works in cycles. You have seasons. You have day and night. Again, you have summer, which is very productive, and then you have winter, which is very slow. So why shouldn't humans do the same? Right? Like honestly, it makes too much sense that humans should have cycles, but we live in a world where you're supposed to be productive all year long. I think it's complete bullshit. Personally, humans should have cycles, but okay, that's not the world we live in. But yeah, that's about everything I say for today. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.